The poll book is completely off. Completely off.
Off by 30,000?
I'd say that poll book is off by over 100,000. That poll book. Why don't you look at the registered voters on there? How many registered voters are on there? Do you even know the answer to that?
No, I guess I'm trying to get to the bottom of this here.
Zero. There's zero.
So, my question then is if the
guess how many? Wait, what about the turnout rate? 120%.
Let's let Representative Johnson ask his question, please.
So the poll book number. There's two things that could happen here. Either the poll book number, if ballots were counted multiple times, there's two options. Option number one is that the poll book numbers are not going to match.
They don't.
The actual. Not by thousands and thousands of votes. That's not what we see right now.
Take a look again. Take a look again.
Option number two is that they essentially were filling in names of people who didn't vote.
Dead people too?
So is that?
Let's
I guess,
let
is that
Representative Johnson ask his question, and then when he's done.
I thought that was his answer. Okay.
Well, I guess that's my question here is why we're not seeing the poll book off by 30,000 votes. That's not the case.
What did you guys do? Take it and do something crazy to it?
I'm just saying the numbers are not off by 30,000 votes. So
I know what I
saying
saw.
That they're filling in?
I know what I saw, and I signed something saying that if I'm wrong, I can go to prison. Okay. Did you?
Okay,
I'm just trying to ask you a legitimate question here.
Yeah, let's let Representative Johnson ask his question, and then don't interrupt him, and then if you want to respond to it, that's fine. And did you have more, Representative?
Yeah, I guess I just want to keep following back up with the poll book. So are we saying that the poll book is either wildly off or that they are filling in names?
It's wildly off, and dead people voted, and illegals voted. Okay. So that's my answer.
So as you can see, the Trump team is doing very well in their. Just kidding. They're crashing into planet Earth.
I want to be this drunk all the time. Holy shit!
He's fucking hammered, dude.
Yeah, that might be your default state though. Like no beers.
Yeah. What's up, everybody? Welcome. We're back. Happy Wednesday.
Yeah. Happy Wednesday.
Hope you guys had a good one today. We're here.
First show of December. Holidays.
Yeah.
December 2nd.
Merry Christmas.
Getting colder, nice and windy out today in Oxnard.
Yeah.
It is.
Hope you guys have somewhere to be. Kind of did. It was nice this morning.
Yeah.
And then it's very cold and windy right now, so.
It evolved.
If you guys are curious what that video is, it's both. It's a part of Trump's team along with infamous Giuliani. Absolutely melting down, trying to, change the vote count in Michigan, and obviously falling flat on their face. Yeah, good stuff. Do you guys have any thoughts on the week before we start off?
No, other than I think we have a pretty good show. A lot is developed, and it's been an interesting week.
Yeah,
we're coming right off. We're coming right off one holiday.
And right into the next.
Yeah, right into the next.
It does feel like a slow week. Like there's been a lull, but it has been a real uneasy lull because, and we're not covering it in the show today as like a thing, but LA has increased their lockdowns now even more. So it's like, yeah, we're definitely in a strange period right now.
Yeah, and yeah, like we were talking about just pre-show, still with zero like economic stimulus, like zero help economic.
Right. More shutdowns, but yeah, zero economic help. Well, on that note, let's start the show, and we have some very, very good news. But before we do that, we want to touch on something that we kind of had on last show where we were talking about this assassination of Iranian scientist Mohsen Fakhrizadeh. Sure, I'm butchering that, but now we covered that here on Twitch. But this is from Ali Alazadeh, and he said, I posted a video yesterday, this was on the 30th of November, analyzing the assassination of Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, and it became very popular, shared/reposted 9,000 times and hundreds of thousands of views, and then it just got deleted by Instagram. Why even analyzing the assassination of Iranian scientists is not tolerated by Instagram? And yeah, I think we all know why, because
they're silencing because it's not in the exactly, and it's not in the Defense Department's best interest.
Yeah, because they probably helped. Not probably. If Israel killed him, which I'm sure they did, they helped coordinate this assassination.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, not only that, and like Israel's guns are our guns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, literally. Just billions of dollars we send to them.
Yeah, we send billions to Israel every year.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring this one up because obviously touching back on the horrible assassination and more, sanctions that we're putting on Iran, so solidarity with them, but also just condemning this media silencing of people that are speaking out against this stuff. Because we fucking covered this. Like, we could be censored for this.
Yeah.
Easy. Like,
yeah, if they thought we were a threat.
Yeah, if anything, we're just not popular enough. Like, that's probably why this guy got censored and we did it. So,
we're not getting shared thousands of times.
9,000 times.
Exactly.
Yeah, or presenting a threat, but I wouldn't be surprised as soon as we do, like something like that could totally happen.
Yep.
So yeah, let's get into the good news, because
yes,
that's what I want to talk about.
Alrighty. So as some of you may know, a couple days ago, Indian farm and union workers joined together to go on a general strike. The number is, I believe, just over 250 million people in India are now on a general strike, and we'll get into the details currently. But just to put that into perspective, just as the title of the show reads, 3.3% of the world population is on strike. 250 million Indians are on strike, and they're doing 100% what is right, and this is super awesome to see. Obviously, solidarity to them, and we're going to go ahead and get into the details now. So we have this piece from Jacobin titled, "This is a Revolution, Sir." Starting off, workers in India last week launched a general strike that brought out an estimated 250 million people, arguably the largest in human history. Now, they're joining hands with farmers to protest Narendra Modi's pro-corporate far-right agenda. Fuck Modi. Starting off here at the top, general strikes in the era of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi have an oddly repetitive quality to them. First, the major national level trade unions, save for the one aligned with Modi's far-right BJP, the far-right party that Modi is the leader of, call for a 1 or 2 day general strike, usually in response to the BJP's latest raft of anti-worker policies. Millions of people across the country pour into the streets in support. Strike leaders tout the actions as perhaps the largest strike in history. Left media outside the country hail the walkout, while the mainstream media in India barely mentions it. Very similar to what happens here in the United States.
Right, yeah, it doesn't sound familiar at all.
Yeah. No, so we've never seen this anywhere. And then life seemingly returns to normal. Last week's general strike in India featured some of these components. The call by national level unions in response to the BJP's anti-worker policies. The claims of massive turnouts, 250 million people in this case, and the time-limited nature of the strike. But this being 2020, the November 26 walkout also had a different quality to it. Back in March, the governments used the pandemic as an excuse to crack down on and clear the last physical remains of widespread protests against its discriminatory citizenship laws. And so the sight of people out on the streets in protest was a striking display. Even more importantly, the general strike converged with a march launched by a broad group of farmers' organizations, all planning to descend on the capital of Delhi. Social media was suddenly awash with images of farmers using tractors and trucks to break down the barriers erected by police to keep them out of the city. In one video, a protester empathetically explained to the police at the barricades that this is a revolution, sir. like, which is badass. And we also have a video to pull up, Carlos, if you want to pull that video up. We have a video to pull up of the tractor breaking down the barricades, which is pretty fucking cool. So yeah, that's super fucking awesome.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, all the symbolism intertwined with this too. Like they're literally using the tractors to break down these barriers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's so cool.
Yeah. So yeah, before I continue, just again, solidarity to the people of India, and only good things can come from this. And then continuing on. The government, recognizing the determination of demonstrators, granted them permission to hold a protest in a far-off corner of Delhi, away from the city's centers of power. Although some farmers ended up at the official protest site, most rejected the offer and remained at the border, with some saying that they had brought enough food and provisions to stay for months. This was not merely a symbolic one-day affair. As of Tuesday, the central government has started meeting with the farm union leaders, but protesters say that they will keep camping at the border until their demands are met, which is awesome. And I guess something that you can compare this to, something here in the United States that failed is the NBA protests, when all the NBA protesters went on strike. And then you have Obama, a huge figure, come in and just be like, the best way to protest is to play the game. Don't protest by holding back your labor. And they listen to him, and they sadly listen to him, and we haven't seen anything positive come from that. So yeah, hopefully this works out well for them. We all got our prayers out. In many ways, the Delhi March was a continuation of protests that erupted in September, when the BJP-controlled national legislature pushed through 3 controversial bills meant to open up the agricultural sector to large corporate and financial interests. Farmers feared the legislation as a prelude to the government dismantling the long-standing system of minimum support prices, which provides some stability to farmers by setting a price at which the government buys a variety of crops. And I'm only gonna read a couple more from here and then go to another article. So continuing on, the government perhaps thought that it could slip the bills through amid the COVID chaos. India had just surpassed Brazil in COVID cases that month in September. But the bill's passage sparked a widespread outcry as farmers decried the deepening of neoliberal reforms in the agricultural sector. Protests spread across the country, but were strongest in Punjab and Haryana. Sorry about butchering that. Wealthy northern states that were once ground zero for India's green revolution. Protest leaders generally came from rich peasant backgrounds, though the demonstrations garnered broad cross-class support from those in the agricultural sector. Well, I mean, yeah, just imagine if we had something like that here in the United States.
Yeah, and I think just to help paint, if I could, a picture for people that don't know who Modi is, maybe watchers, which not to blame, they don't cover any of this stuff on news over here or anything. You have to kind of understand India in context too. Since they kicked out the British, they really have made some way bigger strides than the U.S. has to make a multipolar democracy. Their constitution fucking is leagues above ours philosophically. But with people like Modi, rightly just a fascist, he controls the BJP party, which is, it's like an old revived party that back in the day, and you can look this up, literally took they were part of the Aryan mindset that they were going to be part of some new Aryan nationhood. And they were totally they wanted to expunge people from their area and take over ethno-state kind of thing.
Yeah, which they're literally doing now with the Muslims that live there.
Right. Yeah. Since Modi's been in power, there's been a bunch of massacres against Muslims, and even when he was the head of a state, there was a massacre in Gujarat or something where they set the trains on fire and killed hundreds of Muslims.
And I believe when the pandemic when we first started the show around August, I think we covered something when they first shut down the mosques,
Yes.
and they were just beating the shit out of like Muslims that wanted to just go and protest. They were just, as they were coming out the door, just
Right. And they've tried to keep this line too, like COVID is the reason they're doing all this repression, including right now against this protest. But you're seeing it be way more multi-plural. It's not just Muslims, etc. It's a whole.
Right, saying, and I also think with the protests here in America, when we were protesting, like the article said, is that we were using, or the government and the media was using COVID as an excuse, saying like, "Oh, we're cooped
Yeah,
up.
same here. Yeah.
We just
Even-
want to
yeah.
get out and cause havoc." And I feel like,
even though there's literally no evidence to support that claim.
They just
But
delegitimize our real stuff.
But there
Right.
but there is evidence to support that. Yeah, very, very good point. But there is no evidence to support the claim that BLM, etc. protests caused a spike in COVID cases because with the BLM protests, most of the time they all had masks on and they tried to social distance when they could. But on the counter, there is information to show COVID spikes when you see the anti-mask protests, the MAGA rallies and MAGA protests. You can see spikes there because they were not social distancing. They were not wearing their masks. And yeah. So
back to the India stuff though, the reason why I was making that distinction, where you have Modi, this super fascist figure, and in the same hand you have like, this history of multi-plural democracy in India. This is why they're able to sustain, and we're going to go on, they're sustaining this kind of mass unrest. Like we also, the Black Lives Matter movement is the biggest protest movement in the US ever.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't sustain it, and it just died. And the thing is here, they have built these systems that, and in the Jacobin article and the next article that we're going to read, it's all these trade unions and workers unions that are the real like impetus of, they're the thing that's driving it. Like that's making it work. And yeah, well, like India's just so much different. Like the state of Kerala, that one southern state, is like literally led by
the Communist Party. They
have
their own version of free healthcare. They pay for transgender people's what's it called? Surgeries.
Right. So imagine you're elsewhere in India seeing that in Kerala and this history of like things going good, with like basically socialism in India, and then you're seeing what Modi's doing, and now he's proposing even more austerity to try to cut like the farmers out basically, and all the unions. They're like, fuck no, we're not. Yeah, they just have a much different infrastructure of unions and organization than we do.
Yeah, definitely. And that's all I want to do from the Jacobin article. So if you want to move on to the Hindustan Times, I want to read from that one for a second.
This one's cool.
This one was just put out today, and it's talking about what's in the coming days and whatnot. So here from the Hindustan Times, the top of the article reads: farmers protest, transporters call for nationwide strike and support, threaten to halt supply of essential goods. An apex body of transporters on Wednesday threatened to halt the movement of essential goods across North India and subsequently the entire country if the demands of the farmers protesting against 3 farm laws passed in September to liberalize the sector are not met. The All India Motor Transport Congress, or AMTC is what I'll probably say for the rest of this, an umbrella body of goods vehicles operators representing about 10 million truckers, called for a strike from December 8th, or starting in December 8th, in support of the farmers' protest. From December 8th onwards, we will shut down all of our operations across North India and stop all of our vehicles across North Indian states and union territories, including Delhi, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Himachal, and Jammu and Kashmir. We have decided that if the government still does not agree with the demands of the protesting farmers, then we will call for a Alacajam all across India and stop all of our vehicles, said AMTC President Kulturan Singh Atwal.
I looked that up, but Alacajam just means a blockade.
Yeah, I
was like, what the fuck is a Alacajam?
I saw the word jam and I just assumed like traffic jam.
Yeah.
Road transports account for 60% of the freight traffic in India and 87% of its passenger traffic, according to Union Road Transport and Highway Ministry. Farmers especially from Punjab and Haryana have been protesting against the three laws, saying it will hurt their incomes, even as the government has maintained that they will enhance them. Which is obviously a very, very smart thing to do, knowing the history of not only the Modi's far right, like fascist type government, but just neoliberalism in general. They will lie to you to get what they want and then stab you in the fucking back.
Yeah.
So it's very smart of them to be very hesitant.
Just think about how NAFTA was oversold.
Exactly.
And TPP. Yeah.
Yep. Super true. They say that the laws are a precursor to the withdrawal of government support for farming and will replace existing middlemen with more powerful corporate entities, which is like, it's just super awesome to see. The people of India and the trade unions, being so strong and protecting the rights of workers and not bending, to corporations like here in the U.S.
Yeah.
Because we had like one of the weakest like labor forces ever. Like even the country of Chile has a higher unionization rate than us. So
Right.
like imagine that. And of course that's scaled for population.
I think it's like a common theme we touch on too. Like, it's just interesting the language people from these other countries use, just how much more aware they are.
In a statement, the AMTC said the transporters are extending unstinted support to the farmer agitation. They are fighting for their legitimate rights. Like the road transport sector of India, the farm sector is indeed the backbone and lifeline of the nation. Over 70% of the rural households depend on agriculture. Entire North India is affected, and thousands of trucks carrying food, vegetables, and other perishable and non-perishable items coming from Punjab, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh. That's a hard one. Uttarakhand and Jammu and Kashmir are impacted, and we still support them as 65% of the trucks are engaged in carrying farm produce, the statement said. It is the season of apples, which are getting wasted. Apart from that, potatoes, onions, and other fruits and vegetables, as well as other essential commodities like medicines, milks, etc., as their movement is disrupted, which is leading to their shortage in Delhi and in other northern states. The situation will get acute in days to come unless the government takes prudent and pragmatic steps to resolve farmers' concerns. The farmers are fighting their lone battle. The farmers have been protesting for a week over the laws that allow businesses to freely trade farm produce outside the so-called government-controlled mandi system. The laws permit private traders to stockpile large quantities of essential commodities for future sales and lay down new rules for contract farming. Farm leaders say the laws will leave them at the mercy of private buyers and vulnerable to exploitation.
Right. Transnational corporations are going to come in and buy all this shit up.
And I'm just going to read this last thing.
Investors come in.
Thousands of farmers who are marching from various states towards the national capital to protest against laws have blocked all major entry points to New Delhi, demanding the repeal of the laws. So yeah, this is super fucking awesome to see from India. And we can only hope the best. And I think seeing something like this, especially for us who live here in Oxnard, this is something that we can take and look at what's happening here with the exploitation of our farm workers,
right?
With the exploitation of our undocumented brothers and sisters who are farm workers, who aren't getting the labor rights that they deserve, who aren't getting paid what they deserve, who aren't getting the health care, etc. Especially, amid COVID-19 and everything. Or we're leaving our farmers who are like the backbone of, especially Oxnard. Like we're like, a lot of our city, like the profits we make is from our agriculture sector, and we treat these people like dirt. So looking at like something that's going on here at such a large scale, I think it's something that we can, look at here in the city of Oxnard.
Right, and improve on, because look there, how they're coordinating these different
sectors that, exactly, the truckers with the farmers.
Right. Yeah. And they're able to express both solidarity, and they both realize they're like strategic positions.
Exactly, and they they go hand in hand. They work together.
Yes.
So being able to like really just stop and halt and really put a pause on the like the profit of the city and the economic growth, I think.
And yet, arguably, two of our strongest unions in the states have been traditionally the truckers union and the farmers union. But look at the difference though of just, especially now, like most of those unions have been gutted out and changed, but yeah, there's just a completely different level of what they're able to accomplish here.
Or they just corrupt the leadership of the unions.
Right. They create they create a hierarchy within the union.
So it starts out as an honest cause and just ends up like no better than a corporation.
Right. Yeah. Same small group of people making all the decisions. Yeah. So
we need local union organizing.
Yes.
To reharp,
new unions need to be formed.
Yeah, that's what I want to not just new unions, but we got to reinvigorate the ones we have, and not just be we want to reform them. Like, we can get within these different things and revolutionize them, especially in our community. And these are the models that we got to look towards. Is even though we have to understand and keep in our mind that we are a different place than them, and we have to realize our shortcomings. We have to look, this is beautiful what they're accomplishing right now.
Yeah.
And we need to take that in stride.
Hey, let's go back and play that trucker video.
Yeah.
The farm.
I want to see that. It's symbolism in motion, man. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's really attractive. Does anyone have any final thoughts on this? Indians standing up for their rights, their lives.
Nothing extra to say. It's beautiful to see, and I can only hope for the best for the people, and they continue to resist the fascist Modi government.
Yes.
If nobody's else has anything to say, I think we should get into our first break.
Let's do it.
Alrighty. Yeah. Alrighty. We'll see you guys after this song. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Yeah. We'll be right back. Yo.
Good, we back.
We're back. What's up, yo?
You just jump right into it?
Yeah, let's get right into it.
Yeah. Thank you for everyone watching, by the way. Just give everyone maybe like a sec to join.
Give everybody a second. For those who are watching who don't have an account, please create an account and drop a follow. It really helps us. We also just hit affiliate status. So if you have a Twitch Prime account or you have an Amazon Prime account, you can link that to your Twitch and get a free Twitch Prime sub. It costs you nothing, and it does help us in our statistics, analytics, and all that. It makes us look better for Daddy Bezos. So please, if you have it, go ahead and throw it to us.
Yeah, please.
And whenever we take breaks, also be sure to go get what you need. Go take a bath. Go to the bathroom.
Take a bath.
Whatever you need to do.
Go
Don't take a bath. Well, unless you want to take a bath.
Yeah, you might have to take the phone with you though.
Yeah, take your phone with you if you take a bath. Don't take a toaster. Take your phone and watch the podcast.
Oh God. And if you haven't noticed, we have little name tags now.
Yeah,
so
right here, I think.
A little addition by our super producer Carlos. If you want to throw some hype in the chat, that'd be cool.
Boop, 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 boop.
Oh, we got more than just this that we'll need to.
Oh yeah, we got all kinds of stuff on deck for you guys.
Yes, we're always working to up the podcast, up the production value.
Big and small, of course.
Yes, I actually had an idea about the name.
I don't care.
So I was thinking of trying to do something with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, you're fucking fired. Get the fuck out of here. No, I'm not kidding.
Gotta go.
Yeah, especially with the SoundCloud, we need to get those.
Yes.
Up.
Definitely.
Yeah. So peep out for that too. We're gonna have that, and I'm sure some holiday stuff too. Maybe we can, depending if we keep growing, we could do some cool holiday stuff. So.
Hey, Destiny, what's up? Welcome to the chat. Go Barlos, that's right.
Let's pull up the Bloomberg stuff. And it is always regrettable that we read from Bloomberg, but I figured since we had such a high note with the protests going on in India, and we shouted out our solidarity to them, of course. But
big gay ice cream.
With that, we have to look at the underbelly of what's going on in the U.S., and here it is. Great insurance companies. COVID unknowns leave survivors fearing life insurance rejection. This is by Lydia Wheeler. This is a great piece. I'd actually check it out. The COVID-19 pandemic was barely underway in the U.S. when life insurance companies started wrestling with whether to sell new policies to people who survived the virus. The Delaware Department of Insurance, funny, Biden's home state, once again, started seeing it in June. Companies filed requests to change their application forms to specifically ask applicants if they had COVID-19. The Interstate Insurance Product Regulation Commission, which uses a uniform set of standards to regulate insurance products for 44 states, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico, has approved 32 such requests since March. It's also known as the Insurance Compact.
It's very interesting that they regulate insurance for Puerto Rico, but they don't have statehood.
But they're not a state, yeah. We can control what happens with your life insurance
in your own sovereign nation, but we will not give you statehood because we do not want to give you rights.
Yeah, of course, you can join the military if you live in Puerto Rico. Back to the article. Millions of people who survive COVID-19 are expected to be dealing with medical issues including heart, kidney, and lung damage long after the pandemic subsides. But the long-term effects on mortality are unknown, even for those who had mild or asymptomatic cases. That's left life insurance companies without the risk data, the stuff they already used to fuck people, they typically rely on in deciding who to cover, meaning survivors could have a harder time getting coverage or have to pay more for skimpier plans. And we can skip down to where it says below those graphs. Individual and group life insurers can't add riders to their policy to refuse to pay out benefits if someone dies of a specified illness like COVID-19 under the Insurance Compact standards. But Hunter said he's not aware of any state regulations that stop insurance companies from underwriting against a disease like COVID-19. Some survivors have already been denied a policy because they tested positive. Let's go through them. Due to diagnosis. It happened to Lisa Moyles, 57, of Stratford, Connecticut. She said, or here quote, our decision, this is from the life insurance company, our decision was due to your medical history, including your recent diagnosis of COVID-19, unquote. Symetra Life Insurance Company told the intellectual property attorney in an April 14th letter denying her a term life policy. That was 2 weeks after she had tested positive for the novel coronavirus. Symetra Life Insurance Company is a subsidiary of Symetra Financial Corp., which was acquired in 2016 by Sumitomo Life Insurance Co., a leading life insurer in Japan. So a giant multinational life insurance company. Mm-hmm. Boyles and her wife, Lisa Beaudry, started showing symptoms of COVID-19 at the end of March, shortly after coming home from a trip to Aruba. The couple got tested and received positive results within hours of each other on April 1st. I can say it's the sickest I've ever been, said Moyles, who recovered without having to be hospitalized. Aside from some lingering nerve pain on the bottom of her feet, she said she's fully recovered. Symetra also denied Beaudry, partner 66, a policy. The denial letter she received September 21st didn't specifically cite her COVID diagnosis as a reason. The company said its decision was based on Beaudry's, quote, medical history, unquote, which included records the company obtained from her doctor. Beaudry also recovered from COVID-19 without having to go to the hospital and says she doesn't have any other pre-existing conditions. So, yeah, it's just crazy. Like, these people could not only, die from COVID, but could be suffering post from, we don't know all the stuff. We know it has like some ailments on your heart and your lungs post, but we don't know everything still.
And something I wanted to bring up really quickly before Symetra was acquired by Sumitomo or whatever, the Japanese corporation that acquired them in 2012, their last profit quarter, they made $2.1 billion in profit. So yeah,
right.
as if they couldn't afford to give her insurance. They of course
not just her, both her and her partner. So if either of them had something happen to them because of this, neither of them are covered by a life insurance policy.
Yeah, it's insane, and at the same time, when their last year that they put out a public record for profit, they made $2.1 billion.
Right, I'm sure they're making more amidst the pandemic when they're doing shit like this, trying
to
cut people out of
and now that they're owned by an even bigger multinational corporation, those people are probably making out with way more of a bag.
Right. Yeah, and point is here, like, man, like, of course we know the healthcare system right now is collapsing in general, and they're underserving people, and it's causing COVID to just ravage our country, but there's capitalism goes through all these fucking insurance industries, life insurance too. It's straight up bullshit. As soon as a time comes when you might actually need life insurance, like a global pandemic, perhaps, like they're just like, yeah, no, we're just gonna fucking not cover you. What? Like,
it's like when the government briefing let everyone know how they were going to deal with the pandemic, and it's like These guys have made sure to get in on it too.
Yeah, absolutely. They were ready for this. This was all planned out. And if you look with these two specific people that they went through, Moyles and Beaudry, like there was no, she said she had COVID, and later in the article, we don't have to go into it, but these health insurance companies are now putting on their, when you're signing up for these insurance plans, they're asking you if you have COVID. And so you think, okay, well, if I don't tell them, they won't know. Well, in Beaudry's case, they literally went to her doctor's records. And so you have no privacy either. Yeah,
also, I sure do love our private Japanese healthcare system.
and
also we have
another
foreign investors.
Little fun side note. Symetra Life Insurance is also the first founding partner and sponsor of Seattle's NHL team.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
Yep.
The Krakens.
Yep, the Seattle Krakens.
I hope they're dog shit, honestly.
Yep.
We all know, well, I haven't looked into it, but obviously the newest NHL team, the Vegas Golden Knights, there's no doubt there's some mob shit going on there.
Oh, they're such a nasty team, though, bro.
They're like 2 years in being a brand new team, and they're just insane.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The Golden Knights are nuts, but fuck them.
Carlos, you have a video we wanna play here?
Yeah. So recently, Nancy Pelosi is on track to become the Speaker of the House once again for I don't even know how many times now. If we were serious in the argument about term limits, yeah, we would have put limits on a lot more than just the president.
Yeah.
So Jimmy Dore, realizing that Nancy Pelosi continues to be elected over and over again, and as we've talked about here, mass Democratic donors have said they'll leave if she's not reelected.
Right.
So, because she's overwhelmingly likely to be reelected if all the House Democrats just roll over and vote for her, but he's suggesting maybe they could do something else here, and I'll hear him out on it. This is a little interview he did with Status Quo. You check it out. Yeah, we'll play just this clip here.
I have this idea because the progressives, they get power or they get elected and then they say we don't have any power, right? Which they don't. But they do have some leverage, right? So right now, they have to vote for Nancy Pelosi to be speaker again, right? So we've got at least what now? With Cory Bush and Jamal Bowman, and so there's got to be at least 7, 8, 9 really progressive members. You need less than a dozen progressives to tell Nancy Pelosi, I'm withholding my vote for you as speaker unless you promise to bring Medicare for All for a vote on the floor, because it will win. So that's what she has to do. And if she doesn't do that, then we're going to withhold your vote. And if you want to risk Kevin McCarthy becoming speaker, well, that's on your head, because we're willing to play hardball. So that's what they could do right now. No one else is. Don't believe me. They've thought of this, Jordan. So I'm asking everyone to help push them into doing this. Everybody in the squad, Rokana, anybody who's a progressive, who's elected, right? Who's in the House. Withhold your. This is the only leverage you have. This is the moment. And you know the Tea Party caucus would have done this. Those Freedom Party caucus people, they would do this. And so this is when the progressives can flex their muscle. This is when they have a little bit of leverage. And right now, what they need to do, because they have to vote for Nancy Pelosi when they all get sworn in, they have to say, Nancy, we're not voting for you. I'm sorry, that's sexist. You can't use her first name. Speaker Pelosi, we are going to withhold our vote. It's up to you, because this is popular with 9 out of 10 Democrats. And the only reason you're not bringing it up for a vote is because of obvious corruption. And we need to run on this. And so we're going to bring it up for a vote. And if you don't want to let this come up for a vote, then you're going to lose your speakership. And that's on Nancy Pelosi. That's how you play this game. And so I hope that other people would pick up this message.
So it kind of abruptly cuts off there, but yeah, it's definitely a strong argument. It shows how a lot of progressives really don't use the political power that they acquire once they win these elections.
Right.
Because that should be like the whole point, is that once you actually gain political power, that's when you can actually have the people behind you supporting what you're doing, which was the whole idea of people like AOC and the squad.
Yeah, they were supposed to be pressure that we could use.
Which they are.
To do stuff like this.
They are more open than most other people in Congress. But like this shows with the CARES Act and all these other horrible bills that, yeah, they'll go and argue that, yeah, we got a few good things, but you look at the whole thing and it's a disaster. It's just a full
biggest upward transfer of wealth in the case of the CARES Act.
It's a fail-safe plan for the rich and Wall Street. It's just all the donors got taken care of within the first few days, and then everyone else is still stuck. They're still arguing over how can we do nothing.
I think Jimmy's argument too is really akin to what we opened the show with the protests that are going on in India. It's like you literally have to, this kind of pressure, you have to withhold all we have, and yeah, this is the only way to push these kind of things through while we have this kind of leverage.
And it can't just be a few people, because then they'll just be
No.
ignored.
Yeah, and it has to be coordinated. And it hurts because I guess my analysis would be, I want this to happen too, and we should pressure and call for this because it is the only purpose, like you said, of people like AOC, Rokana, etc., is to use them as pressure like outlets and actually get stuff done. But I think the reality is too, though, that like I don't know if you guys saw this on Twitter, like with all these picks that Biden was picking for his cabinet, people were like, "Oh, he's declaring war on the left, on the left." And it's like, no, he's not. We lost the war fucking 7 months ago, dog. Like,
when Bernie Sanders said he'd vote for the nominee no matter what.
That's what we lost.
It was over.
We lost all of our power at that moment.
We honestly should have, yeah. I mean, we were kind of, I think Bernie blindsided a lot of people and just kind of got him to go along with the Democratic shtick of just Trump is so horrible that, yeah, at least if we're in there, like, we won't destroy the country. Like, at least we won't send everything to hell.
And for people watching, I mean, Bernie was a huge radicalizer for all of us, but we have to understand that moment. And Bernie didn't meet that moment. That moment, I mean, who knows if anyone could, but he didn't do the thing that needed to be done, which is Jimmy's argument here is we gotta pressure for these things. It's the only way.
Yeah, and
Bernie had all the ability, and
I was gonna bring that up just right now. But when he first dropped out and like ceded his spot in the race, instead of using the power that he had with the 30% Democratic voter bloc that he is in ownership of, instead of being like, here's 10 executive orders, let's talk about which ones you'll give me. Instead of doing that, which is, we've heard Kyle talk about this before. Instead of doing that, what did he do? He just dropped out and gave all of his voting power, all of his leverage away instantly to Biden. He didn't try to get a cabinet spot. He didn't try to get any executive orders. Nothing.
No demands.
Nothing.
Basically.
He literally just said, "You know what? All right, I fucking give up," which sucks, man. And yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying is he said he'd support whoever the nominee was. Like,
right. So from the get-go,
literally anyone. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you've already started yourself at a compromised position.
If Bloomberg was the candidate, if he decided to spend all his money and just buy the whole election, I mean, he already sunk just like a fraction of his wealth. He could have easily spent like 5 times more.
Yeah, and if he was more personable, maybe he would have fucking actually did a lot better.
I mean, and not only that, just what little money he spent. Look at what he did.
That's what I'm saying. He's such an unlikable guy, and with the money he did spend, he got some shit done.
Exactly.
It's like, yeah. To Carlos's point, like, you can't. Bernie started himself at a compromised position by saying, "I'm going to go with anyone that becomes the Democratic nominee." It's like, really? Anyone? And by saying that, you're saying, well, whoever it is, I'm just going to give up my demands and my base. And that not only, gives up all your power, but it also alienates people like us, too.
Mm-hmm.
Or just in general, Bernie's base.
That was the worst. I had a gut feeling when I heard him say that. It didn't sit right with me.
No, it was a splitting moment. Like, since that happened, other than the Black Lives Matter protests, etc., and local organizing, there hasn't been any kind of left-wing project that's doing anything since then, because that's when it died.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great video, and I think we should pressure all these progressives that we back to, it's important to get them into these spots, but if they're not fucking at the very least willing to do this kind of shit, they're worthless.
And now look at the media's little sheepdog, Trump. He plays the perfect scapegoat, and now they're already hyping up his 2024 run.
Right. So they can
talk about that for another 4 years and just use it as an excuse to you can't say anything bad about Biden.
or the Democrats real large, right? Yeah.
You gotta let the Democrats be as right wing and meet the Republicans wherever they see fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Does anyone have any final thoughts before we move into our last blocked segment here?
I think we can move on. I don't have anything to say.
Thank you to everyone still watching, by the way.
Yeah.
Let's pull up that Reuters piece. And I don't know if you guys have heard about this out there, but nothing new. And obviously we were just talking about, the right and the Democrats and the Republicans working together. Well, here you go. U.S. Supreme Court, baby. No better example. U.S. Supreme Court justices question human rights claims against Nestle and Cargill. U.S. Supreme Court justices on yesterday, appeared way of barring lawsuits against American companies over alleged human rights abuses. Not alleged, they happened. Abroad, but signaled they could toss out a case accusing Cargill Inc. and a Nestle SA subsidiary of knowingly helping to perpetuate slavery at Ivory Coast cocoa farms. The two companies are asking the 9 justices to reverse a lower court ruling that allowed the lawsuit filed in 2005 on behalf of former child slaves from Mali who worked at the farms to proceed. The case concerns a 1789 U.S. law called the Alien Tort Statute that lets non-U.S. citizens seek damages in American courts in certain instances. The business community has long sought to limit corporate liability under this law. Some justices questioned whether the lawsuit actually made clear that company officials knew that the farms involved child slavery. This from Samuel Alito, quote, Justice Samuel Alito, quote, after 15 years, it is too much to ask that you allege specifically that the defendants, who are before us here specifically, knew that forced child labor was being used on the farms or farm cooperatives with which they did business. Of course, this is not in the article, but of course they fucking knew this was happening. These are some of the largest companies in the world. Nestle specifically owns literally every candy thing you can think of, body soap, L'Oreal, all that stuff. There's no way they don't know this shit's happening. And as they'll go on, even the lower courts have proved they do know.
It's do these people really think that if you give these people nothing and you basically put them in a position where they have to make their children work,
right?
It's not gonna they think it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, they just they're like, oh, you don't literally see the slavery, which they probably actually do.
That oblivious.
No, you can't. But the Supreme Court apparently can. In the article here, the court could toss out the lawsuit on those grounds, but stop short of a ruling that would curb corporate liability altogether under the law, with some justices expressing reservations about taking that step. Liberal Justice Elena Kagan, for example, asked what would happen if a group of slaveholders who could normally be sued individually formed a corporation in order to avoid liability. And we'll skip later down, but all the arguments against the, for this to go through, for the lawsuit to be allowed, right, on behalf of the slaves, the former slaves, it just shows the moral rot of the Supreme Court. There's no actual moral argument made about whether slavery is wrong and that these companies just have, are knowingly perpetuating slavery. They have to have these harebrained fucking concocted weird analogies or different situations, and that's why the lawsuit should go through. The Supreme Court's ridiculous. From the article still, the litigation targeted the U.S. subsidiary of Swiss-based Nestle, the world's biggest food producer, and commodities trader Cargill, one of the largest privately held U.S. companies. The plaintiffs accused the companies of aiding and abetting human rights violations through their active involvement in purchasing Ivory Coast cocoa and turning a blind eye to the use of slave labor on the farms, despite being aware of the practice in order to keep cocoa prices low. A federal district court in Los Angeles dismissed the lawsuit twice, most recently in 2017. That court found that the claims were barred by recent Supreme Court decisions that made it harder for plaintiffs to sue corporations in U.S. courts for alleged violation overseas. Now, here's the interesting part. The San Francisco-based Ninth Circuit U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in 2018 revived the claims, citing the allegations that the companies provided, quote, personal spending money, unquote, to local farmers to guarantee the cheapest source of cocoa. The Ninth Circuit found that the payments were akin to kickbacks and that the low price of cocoa was dependent upon the child slave labor. So in case we had any illusions that they weren't literally aware of this, they're literally injecting money into these fucking, like, into farmers, etc.
They just set up exactly what I described. A situation where, they're competing for these incentives, and it's like, oh, it don't matter how you get them. Like,
right.
We don't
they're
care.
just creating the havoc, and they're like, well, it doesn't matter, how you get these incentives we planted in there. If slave labor is how it happens, that's not our fault.
Which is capitalism.
Absolutely, and that's why the Supreme Court can't question it.
Which is, you get to the end goal by any means necessary. It doesn't matter the morality or the, like, how ethical it is. It doesn't matter how many resources you waste. As long as somebody gets there, then, through the lens of capitalism, that's all that fucking matters.
Exactly, and that's why the Supreme Court has to have these, like, weird fucking ways to try to argue it rather than actually confronting that capitalism.
And literally without the labor left, the socialist left, the communists, etc., without them, kids would still be working in factories for 13 hours getting paid pennies. We would
7 days a week.
7 days a week, no breaks. You get their ass beat at work, getting paid fucking pennies, and nobody would bat an eye. Without the labor left, we would be in shambles, not only as a country, but as an entire developed world, and probably not as developed as we think we would be.
Yeah, there'd be more slave labor than we have in the U.S. now.
The rich would be doing incredible, but people like you and me would be doing terrible, and we'd see a lot more people dying from the conditions that poverty induce.
But hey, I'll be fair, we'd have more freedom in that sense. So the libertarians are right. They really do want more freedom.
Right. Yeah, you nailed it though. Like, point is, this Supreme Court fucking doesn't do anything, and it's real, radicals, leftists, socialists, people that have fought for the underclass that have actually gotten stuff done in this right, and are going to continue to do that. Let me just read a little more from here, and then we're going to go to an interesting thread of what some of these judges actually said during this during these proceedings.
Oh, that's interesting.
It is very interesting. This part's interesting too, though, from the Reuters article. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, gotta love big business, and other business interests backed the two companies in the case. That's Nestle and Cargill they backed, as did President Donald Trump's administration, of course. The Supreme Court in 2013 and 2018 cases curbed the ability of plaintiffs to sue corporations in U.S. courts under the Alien Tort Statute for overseas human rights violations. But the court did not definitively rule that companies can never be sued under that law. Since the 2018 ruling, a 5-4 decision, the court has shifted further to the right with Trump's appointment of conservative judges Kavanaugh and Barrett. A ruling is due by the end of June, so of course we'll keep a tab on this. And before we go into this thread, this is also something I wanted to touch on. The guy that's arguing on behalf of Nestle and Cargill, the lawyer that's arguing we should have, slave labor is fine for Nestle to have, basically. He was in 2010 to 2011, during the Obama administration, he was the acting Solicitor General of the United States. And just to let our audience know, too, and we always talk about this, that identity politics really is the mind killer and has nothing to do with the kind of socialist politics we're going after. Here's a fun fact. Neal Katyal, the lawyer, Katyal has argued more Supreme Court cases than any other minority lawyer in American history. So it goes to show, it's a minority. He's argued the most cases in American history in the Supreme Court. But look at the cases he's arguing. He's arguing for slavery. Like, gross. Let's pull up this thread here. And I'll pull it up right now too. This from
really quick.
Yeah.
Simon in chat trying to Rick roll us. You got me. You almost got everybody. I was about to say, let's look at this link. Yeah, we almost got fucking Rick rolled.
There's an extension where if you like hover over.
Yeah,
you can
I
see
have that. I have that. Without reading it, I clicked on it and I got. I won't lie.
Link's a link.
Yeah.
Hey, there's worse things you could link to.
So from this thread here is from Colin. Hold up, sorry, let me pull it up. Colin Kalbecher. I hope I'm not killing that. We have this on Threadreader here. He says Neal Katyal, that lawyer that's defending for Nestle, is currently defending multinational corporations' right to own slaves before the Supreme Court right now in the consolidated cases of Nestle USA versus Doe and Cargill Inc. versus Doe. Justices Sotomayor, Kagan, and Gorsuch do not appear to be convinced. And then we're going to read just a couple of these key statements, and we'll just jump through. We have this first one here. It says, quote, "You can go after the individual. You don't need to go after the corporation," unquote, Katyal says. Katyal's argument for the corporate slave owners who pay his legal bills is that the Alien Tort Statute of 1789 doesn't allow former slaves to sue American corporations. So, yeah, disgusting individual there. Just, it's all in that one quote. And if we can go down to, it might take me a second to find it here. The 26th one we have here. Yeah. If we could.
How does it start?
It starts with. Sorry, let me see if I can find
One
it.
day, you don't know why.
Yeah, it starts with one day, you don't know why. It doesn't even matter how hard you try. It starts with Breyer is concerned as to whether allegations. So that's Justice Breyer. Justice Breyer is concerned as to whether the allegations in the lawsuit actually rise to the level of aiding and abetting because there's so much child slavery in the world. And if the court, that's to that argument earlier where they're like, well, how does Nestle really know? You know, there's just slavery everywhere. They don't know. And if the court decides in favor of the former slaves, that could upset global relations and U.S. foreign policy. Like, we don't fucking upset that enough ourselves by bombing people unilaterally. And then the next one, this is Hoffman, that's the lawyer for the former slaves. Hoffman catalogs how the corporations have been using child slaves. Breyer retorts with, quote, "That's just business. Blinking your eyes or keeping them open. Do we want a court to tell businesses, you can't do that anymore?" Which is, that's the only purpose of courts, is to tell businesses you can or cannot do that anymore. What else is the purpose of a court?
No, you don't understand. Courts.
Oh yeah, courts. They drive all the way to the top, and
exactly the point of a court is to make sure a working class person loses.
Right, exactly.
And a business owner wins. That's the whole point. I don't know where you got this random notion that they're supposed to help people. Yeah, I don't know where you're living, buddy.
What did you not get by the lifetime appointment? You think this is democracy?
Right. No.
Reading a little bit too much fucking 2001 Space Odyssey or something, buddy.
Can we go down to this is the 44th tweet, and check out this whole thread. There's some real eye-openers here. These are just the ones I thought were the most. This is the 44th one here. It starts with, Barron wants to turn the international relations. This is new judge, Amy Coney Barrett, wants to turn the international relations question on its head. Asks if there are any potential fallout for court not ruling in favor of the former slaves here. That goes back to my kind of thing where they can't even make like an actual argument for why this is wrong or why the court should decide on the half of the slaves. They're like, well, will this hurt us, internationally? That's how they have to contemplate this. And the last one I'll read from the thread here is the 47th one. That starts with, right here, Katyal says that the Supreme Court shouldn't, quote, be out in front, unquote, in creating new causes of action, and that Hoffman couldn't point to the specific norm against corporate aiding and abetting liability for slave owners. I just wanted to cap there because it's just everyone here is just a piece of shit. And
couldn't point to the specific norm against corporate
which they could.
and
Literally,
the
the Ninth Circuit Court in San Francisco literally proved that, and Carlos guessed the situation, that they were pumping money and resources in to create these situations knowingly. It's not a mistake. Of course, we know that. That's our analysis, is that, of course it's, that's capital interest 101.
It's like saying you're going after the slave markets and we're going to shut down the slave markets, but are we going to do anything to stop people from buying and selling slaves? No.
And we're going to actively inject money in there to drive for the cocoa market.
But we'll shut down the slave markets if we see them.
And in a roundabout way, something you can compare this to is something we covered another time in the show with the Tyson Meat Company placing bets on who's going to get COVID, and at the same time they have the powers that be to deny PPE to increase those numbers. They have the opportunity to take money out to increase COVID cases to win bets on the side to continue to run away with more money and killing more people.
Right. That's a good article to relate to, because it's like, it shows none of the Supreme Court, the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, all our educational, political institutions in the United States, they don't fight for fucking working people. Mm-hmm. Who fights for working people? Working people fight for working people. That's what it is.
The establishment fights for the establishment.
Yeah, they know
even
what side of the war they're on.
The local level.
Yeah, in our local level, you have goons like Jackie Irwin, for instance, who, drove through all this privatization of our community colleges and stuff, and sold your information out to companies like Microsoft via your things like Canvas and stuff like that. Yeah, the rich know what side they're on in this war, and we need to start fucking waking up to what side we're on, because countries like India, they are, and for a moment we were. But now it's time to realize we lost that war back in March. There's a whole new war, and it's time. Like, we gotta start organizing.
100%.
And that's all we have today. Articles.
We have a short show today, which it isn't a bad thing. We had some powerful articles to read from. So we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. We'll be back on Sunday. If nobody has any, before I continue, does anybody have any final closing thoughts?
Yeah, I think like a moral of the story is like getting together and fighting for what you think it's what you believe in, right? And like get the truth out there, and that things like this do matter, and that your voice can be a change for a lot of things, like of the shit things that are going around in this world. And I think that we should all take that from what we just read here as well.
Yeah.
I guess I'll tack that for my final message too. It is a sign of hope, because, man, it seems like things have been dire. But look at India, as we've titled it, 3% of the world's population goes on strike,
yep.
And it's still going. And they don't look like they're gonna stop, and they look like they actually can do something. So there is hope, and it's all about keeping our nose to the grindstone.
Yeah.
Think about it like this: the amount of people that just went on strike in India is 1,000 times more than there are people in Oxnard.
Yeah,
no more than that. So it's not impossible. The numbers could be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think on that note, like I say in every show, workers of the world unite. Thank you guys so much for watching. And before we go, if you're new and you like what you saw, and if you don't have an account, create an account and please drop a follow. It really helps us. If you are already following and you want to support us more, if you have an Amazon Prime account, link that to your Twitch and you can subscribe with a free Twitch Prime. It doesn't cost you any extra money at all, and it only helps us in the statistics and analytics of Twitch, which makes us look better and we go higher in the ratings. Thank you guys all so much for watching. We will be back on Sunday, same time, 10:30 p.m. California PST Pacific time. We'll be back, and then after that, every Wednesday and Sunday, we're here 10:30. We will always keep you up to date on our Twitter at Spoop Podcast and our Instagram at Spoop Podcast. Please go check us out, follow us, support us. We love to build this little community up. We love all of you guys individually. We kiss all of you goodnight every single night. We love you. Again, thank you so much. Thank you, Hannah, for stopping by. So yes, we will all talk to you guys on Sunday. Thank you guys again, and we will see you guys.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Namaste. Shalom.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Adios.
You're a rocker, huh?